Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for the wrap up of my Mother's Day month movie spoiler review. And I wanted to wrap up on something like a good note. And I thought it would be fitting cuz mostly cuz I haven't seen this in quite some time. The 2007 movie Seth Rogen, Katherine Heigl movie Knocked Up. And I thought, well, got to be like a nice little bonus because this is basically about people becoming parents. So it's like nice in between leading into Father's Day month. You got a mother and a father, so a nice little bridge leading to another theme month. And yeah, this is Judd Apatow. It's like a Judd Apatow movie, written, directed, produced by Judd Apatow. Uh, yeah, I mean, I forgot how good this movie was, and like such a star-studded cast. At least people you didn't think would be stars of today. Let me just give you the names of people because there's a few that I know now that I did not know. That were going to be big or thought it was just like one of those not character actors, but it's like those background kind of people. You didn't know was going to be like big deals. Uh, okay, you got obviously Seth Rogen, always like a comedy genius. Katherine Heigl, Paul Rudd, Leslie Mann, Jason Segel, Jay Baruchel, Jonah Hill, Martin Starr, Charlene Yee, uh, Harold Ramis, R.I.P., Joanna Kearns, Alan Tudyk, and that's another thing, like, because we all know Alan Tudyk from like Doom Patrol and like the Harley Quinn show, because that's really like cement. I want to say cemented his name, but it's like unless you like deep cut and like know these kind of things, you know of like Alan Tudyk. But casual, because I don't know Doom Patrol. Like I didn't see the third season, but like I watched the uh, first two seasons, and like yeah, he was a great villain. But I think that was the first time like Alan Tudyk's name registered in my mainframe. Uh, Kristen Wiig, another one is like like I've probably seen her here and there, but it's just like Kristen Wiig, Kristen Wiig. Later to be known as the Cheetah in Wonder Woman 2. Bill Hader has like a little cameo. Ken Jeong, who plays a doctor who is legit a doctor, but he went to become like an actor. Uh, Something like that. At least that's how I recall. Yeah, because like he is a licensed physician, but he went on to become like an actor. Uh, uh, he also got like Adam Scott, Craig Robinson. Uh, wow, Stormy Daniels was in this. Holy crap! And I imagine this probably, I don't know if it was around the same time or maybe a little bit before she bumped into uh uh Trump, but God, it's like crazy. Uh, Tim Bagley, of course. BJ Novak. Yeah, it was just wild. It's like the amount of like actors that was involved in this, and then of course you got uncredited celebrity cameos: Jessica Alba, Steve Carell, Andy Dick, James Franco, Eva Mendes. Before we knew what's up with, well, this is before James, because James Franco's not like Harvey Weinstein, because things that he got caught up in didn't happen until like a few years ago. So and this is around the time when, because you hear this quite a few times in this movie, because it was going on in like Hollywood at the time. Everybody's like, I want to see Spider-Man 3, and it's like, I want to go see Spider-Man 3, and it's like, he was being interviewed because he stars in Spider-Man 3. That was just wild. how God, it's like Spider-Man 3 came out like, around this time. It's like it's wild to me. Uh Eva Mendes, Ryan Seacrest, and Dax Shepard. So it's a lot of like stars in this, and like, a good chunk of them later on become like, I want to say mega stars, but like, very known. But anywho, I just thought I'd just give like uh these the list of people who are involved that you probably know now, but didn't realize probably wasn't as a big deal back then. And this was like, early to mid 2000s, and in a way it's kind of its own era. It's hard to describe. It's like, in like one of my first movie reviews was Charlie's Angels, with Lucy Liu and Cameron Diaz. Uh, uh, that it was on that same kind of time frame, mid 2000s. So it was like Kill Bill. It's like it's like the wardrobe and like the like certain aesthetics, and like, you got club scenes. You can just tell, like it's like the era of the Black Eyed Peas. If you ever know about the Black Eyed Peas, it's like of that era when, like, Black Eyed Peas was all the rage. It was like they still a big deal, but it's like they was like really getting at that peak of like stardom. Uh, so anyway, uh, the movie, stars at, I know Katherine Heigl had like, a lot of issues. Like, I don't want to say she was blacklisted, but some might say she's blacklisted. But it's just, she was just like difficult to work with. I'm not saying that, like in a misogynistic kind of way, because I can tell, because we didn't know what kind of crap, like we knew, but we didn't really knew what kind of crap Hollywood was doing to certain people around that time, like we know now. Like I mentioned earlier about like Harvey Weinstein and all that other stuff. We didn't know how insidious it was, in like the workforce when it comes to like women and like people trying to become like stars and all this other stuff. But I don't. It's not saying Katherine Heigl might have experienced something like this, but you know, because I don't think she's like, no, I don't think she's like, personally, I don't think, because from what I've read a long time ago, it wasn't in that vein. It's just that it's hard to describe unless you're there whether or not she was just being difficult in terms of, she knows what she want kind of thing, and like, guys in that top space, you know, uh, had like a bug of their butt about like adhering to her needs, or was he just being like a straight up asshole? And and it's hard to say, because you don't want like to label just any woman who's like strong and assertive just being difficult to work with. There are times when like that is not the case, but other times, like, I believe in Katherine Heigl is one of those rare exceptions where no, we're being an asshole kind of thing, and like I think difficult to work with kind of fits the thing here. But anywho, this is like mid 2000s. Like certain actresses like Eva Mendes and Katherine Heigl, they was like, I did my review of the movie Hitch, and I talked about that in that movie. Check out my review of Hitch, by the way. Uh, my Valentine's Day month type of film. Uh, 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 like, and don't forget to like, subscribe, all that other stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube. But yeah, it's like around like early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, and man, like certain actors and actresses like was like all the rage during that period where it's like, not that they fell off, but it's like you would expect them to be like the same level as like Angelina Jolie type of level, or like Brad Pitt kind of level, because Brad Pitt was all over the place in like the well, he had roles prior to the 2000s, but it's just like growing up, I saw him. I recall seeing him in like a handful of stuff in the 2000s, like the Ocean's 11 films. But Eva Mendes and Katherine Heigl, they was in like a tons of like, I won't say tons, but like a fair bit of movies, more often than not, like romantic, comedies and stuff like that. And Eva Mendes was in like Ghost Rider, and not everybody loves Ghost Rider. I think is got some charming bits, and like I'm dig the hell out of it, and its sequel. I'm not saying it doesn't have problems, but it's just like, I don't know, Nick Cage. It could have been like a whole lot worse, but Nick Cage giving his 110% in it really kind of, personally, I feel, elevates the craft to make it just enjoyable than you probably wouldn't initially think so. But it's just Ghost Rider is one of the most coolest looking comic book characters in history. Just a flaming skull motorcyclist with like a badass bike is like, how can that not be cool? Especially using chains as a weapon. How can that not be cool? But it's just like even Mendes should. I mean, she is personally. I think she is, but it's just like, man, she should be in almost every doggone thing, or at least she should be like sought out kind of thing. But anyway, Katherine Heigl plays this news, up and coming news. I want to say up and coming, but like an ambitious news reporter, Allison Scott, who got this, big, promotion at her job working at E. And you just see this like moment where you see this Ryan Seacrest just acting very diva-ish. It's like it's Jessica Simpson in, and she's on the way. It's like, because I can't perform. I got like 4 other jobs. It's like I can't do this if she's not camera ready. Then it's like and then it's like he's like just just anxious, like he needs like a chill pill, but they offer him a cookie instead. But that part is great. But and it's like, man, it's like, listen, knowing, because this is 2020 vision, 2022 vision, looking back in 2007, we gotta keep in mind, people, that what's okay and not okay today had different set of rules back 10 plus years ago. So like, and this little, but it is like, speaks a lot to how, well, the world more than, more often than not, but it's like more specifically Hollywood, where it's like, she's talking with like Alan Tudyk's, character, her boss, and like, I guess, Kristen Wiig, his like, assistant, whatever. And they sitting down with her, and they, offering this promotion, and they trying to like very subtly drops hints about, her losing weight, even though she's skinny. She's skinny, she's fit already, but it's like, not like, oh, we can't legally say like, you gotta lose weight, but like tighten, and it's like, it's like, wow, it's like, that is just like fucked up. And it's like, even when back then, like when I was watching this, I was, not like a kid, but I was still like, teens, mid to late teens. And hearing this, I was like, wow, that is messed up. Like, you didn't tell her, to lose weight. She's already skinny. What's the point? But this is California, like, not stereotyping California, but it's just like they got a different mindset when it comes to like, because they got as many like fitness centers as they do Starbucks and McDonald's. And it's like they pretty much all over the place, and everybody's like, constantly like, trying to like look, top notch and super perfect. Uh, but you get to see Allison because she I don't know how much she's supposed to be making, because she's got a job at as like a interviewer. Uh, so you would expect she have like at least I know like LA has like a like crazy uh you know uh rent situation. It's like in the like the from what I heard, you'd be lucky to find like a decent spot in the thousands. Um, but is it that bad where it's like she living in her sister's guest house? And I'm like, what do I mean, like, Paul Rudd plays Leslie Mann's husband, uh, uh, Pete and Debbie. And Pete, played by Paul Rudd, is, works as like a talent agent for like, up and coming rock stars. And I'm not sure what uh, Leslie Mann's character does for a living. She has to do something. Because I don't think she's like because she's not a stay-at-home mom. Uh, from what I remember from the film, but these two, man, because like there was like a sort of like a spin-off from this movie where you said like this is 40, and personally, like uh, you know, it was okay, but it's like it wasn't as fun as like Knocked Up is, but you know these two bicker like. I mean, I know it's like marriage is like, not everything's gonna be hunky dory. You argue, you have disagreements, and like, life happens, and it's kind of like you snipe at each other, but it's just like, but they also is love. It's hard to describe. You've been in like a significant relationship. You multiply that by two when you uh married. It's like things happen. But it's just like half the time I'm thinking these two really should not be together. On the outside looking in, it just seems like relationships can be hard. It's like it takes a lot of work, and it's like from what I've heard from a lot of people and certain experts, and that's like psychiatrists, and from like cinema therapy, and it's like they talk about this kind of stuff on here and there on their videos, where it's like you gotta constantly maintain that. It's there's days it's not always gonna be good. It's always gonna be trials and tribulations, blah blah blah. So I guess it's that, but it's just the way you see it. It's like, how is you two not divorced? And I'm pretty sure they covered this kind of thing in This Is 40, but I was like, man, you two are not compatible. I mean, Leslie Mann is still like smoking hot, but and and we wouldn't have known this back then, but it wasn't. What was it, like last year when Paul Rudd was announced as sexiest man of the year? Like Paul Rudd. And I love Paul Rudd. He's like, him and Keanu Reeves are probably, off the top of my head, the most likable people I ever seen. And it's like, you be hard pressed to find anybody who dislikes them. It's like if you find out tomorrow that Paul Rudd robbed the bank, you'll be thinking, well, what did the bank do? Kind of thing. It's like he's that likable where it's like you'll blame the bank and not Paul Rudd. Or you think like, well, the bank probably had it coming, because it's like Paul Rudd is too nice of a person. They gotta be something wrong with them. But they got two small girls, and I think it was, they're played by, Apatow's girls, I believe. Uh, uh, so uh, the sisters decided like, oh, we go out, we'll celebrate, we go to this club. Then you switch over to like Seth Rogen's character Ben Stone, last name Stone, like and like plays like the slacker who's living off of a settlement check that he acquired from Canada after like uh, a, a vehicle ran over his foot and something like that. And it's like he earned like $1,400, something big like that. And now at this point he has like 900 left in his bank account, and he's sitting there around getting high with his friends and roommates, coming up with like this like website where it's like trying to where people can look up like where to find naked images of certain celebrities in certain movies, like as he described it, as he talks with like Allison. It's like, what if you like Meg Ryan? And it's like, what movies do we see in Meg Ryan's tits? So you can just Google it and give you like the list of films. Excuse me. And it's like, man, it's like we're like, because these are like 20 somethings, nearly 30s. And it's like, because I was in my teens at the time. And I'm thinking like, wow, it was like 20 something year old people was behaving like this, like these slackers, was getting high all the time and like just goofing off. And these like dumb shits too, like not dumb like they got no freaking IQ levels, because like Jonah Hill's character talking about he went to Yale and everything like that. And it's like, man, like I know like 20s you spend like like finding yourself or goofing off or whatever like that, but man, it's like it was weird. It's like, wow, you at least don't have like at least a job to go to, at least, because like I won't say I would accept it, like it's like I got any business to talk to anybody about how to do live their lives, but it's like, dude, you can at least have a job, and like everything else, and all this is fine. At least have a job. I mean, what's half of y'all doing? Every time I see them, you just you're on the couch smoking pot, and yeah, you're trying to start this company, but it's like, I don't know. You're like, oh, it's not that dissimilar to what people do right now with like making podcasts and like, or like Twitch streams and blah blah blah, or even do YouTube channels like I'm doing right now. I mean, like, but it's like it seems like they're not putting in the work, but it seems like is like you gotta like kind of grind. You gotta be like like on it, like at least promote it. Of course we didn't have Twitter at that time. Like the certain, which is like a fascinating life that we had at the time, where it's like there was no social media, and then of course they had cell phones, but it was like flip phones. Remember those flip phones? And like Blackberries, those were a thing. Man, like I always wanted like a Blackberry back then. It looked so doggone cool in the movies. It's like now, like they got one of these, so it's like it's kind of like make the Blackberry obsolete. It'd be like a complete waste of money at this point. They only recently decided to cancel all productions on iPods, and it's like, why are you still making iPods? What Apple company decides like let's keep rolling them out? Like, who's buying them? But anyway, like and Ben's friends, and of course, like it was like a kind of like a smart move, and I think personally, I think Judd Apatow thought it probably easiest to have Ben's friends have their first name as their actual first names. Like you call it like Jason Segel's character just Jason. Jay Baruchel's name was just Jay. Jonah Hill, Jonah Martin Starr, just Martin, and uh, and it's wow. It's like a few of these people are in the MCU or the DC universe, and you got like Martin Starr is like Peter's former like teacher. Uh, 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 Paul Rudd is Ant-Man. Uh, Alan Tudyk is like Mr. Nobody from DC. Kristen Wiig is Cheetah. Is wow, like uh, it wouldn't be like how long will it be for like most of these people are going to be on that MCU uh, DC list. Uh, but anywho, uh, uh, they decided to go out to this club, and they happen to be at the same club. And while they happen to, Allison and Ben happen to meet at the bar while trying to wait for this guy to, serve them drinks. But he's always, like, I'm pretty sure it was like a thing in like clubs, back in the day, where it's like the bartenders focusing on like the like super hot young people, not like Katherine Heigl's character ain't like super hot, but it's just like I don't know. It's just like that was like a bad thing. I don't even think like bartenders do that anymore unless it's like I guess like a extremely busy night. But it's like they try not to like do that anymore. But uh like a just like a total power play, like just Ben just decides to like grab a couple of bottles from behind the bar and hand one to Allison, but you know he decided to give as a gesture, like give his bottle to her for her sister, and uh uh typical fashion, because it's like I'm kind of like this, where Ben just feel like he froze up in that moment where he's like could have just she gave you an opening to like you know say something, do like try to do something, and he froze up, and it's like I've been there. It's like I think a lot of us been there, where it's like you're not like a smooth operator like that. It's like most people are not like that smooth, or it's not necessarily you have to be smooth, but it's just like you struggle to find like the right words so you don't come off as some kind of prick. And you want to make sure like you get that foot in the door kind of situation. But with Jason's help, like he walked over to talk with Allison and her sister, but her sister had to go leave because like they think like her daughter has like chicken pox, and like so she rushes home. Yeah, Allison decided to stay behind to party the rest of the night with Ben, and like they have a great night. They getting drunk, and like she takes him back to her place, uh, the guest house, and they proceed to have sex. But as he's trying to put on a condom, and it's like he's struggling with it, and because of miscommunication, he decides to ditch the condom, which is not a good idea. You make sure that thing gets on before you do anything. Just like a little health lesson for you guys, but it's like that should that should be like a common knowledge kind of thing. It's like not driving drunk. That should be like common knowledge, even though people are still driving drunk and like getting in accidents. It's like you beat people over the head with certain things. It's like do not drive drunk. Do not have sex without a fucking condom. That's like those should be like the two biggest things that should have been like the most drilled into your head that should not be a thing. I mean, I know things. Well, I think like the whole condom situation, like things tend to happen. Emotions get high or whatever like that. But it's like those should be like, we should be seeing less of that at the very least. It should be like in like the 5 percentile currently. But anyway, after that, they go out for breakfast, and she tries to talk with him just to see like any kind of potential relationship she can get out of this guy. But once he tells her his situation, which you appreciate in a situation, because more often than not, when it comes to movies like this, a guy would try to lie about his life to impress this woman. But it's like, Ben has no shame in his game. It's like, here's me, even though it's not particularly an attractive quality for most women to see in a guy, but you respect the honesty. Is like, I got like a settlement thing, like me and my friends trying to start this business, and yeah, on the outside looking in, you are fucking slackers, and it's like you seem like you're not really showing any kind of ambition in your life, and that 9 times out of 10 is a turnoff. Like, even to a guy like me back then, I looked at that, I was like, that doesn't look good. Not that I'm not saying like I'm throwing shade or anything like that, but it's like, bro, do you not understand like how this would look to a girl? Because it'd be different if it was like Charlene Yee's character. That character's a total slacker as well. You gotta probably have to be around other slackers to have like some camaraderie without judgment. But after like she listened to him, she's like, nah, dude, like, but you're a cool guy and everything. Like, they hug it out, and it's like, okay, go out separate ways. When to her mind, like, we're not compatible. It's like, there's no way like I can see anything with you. But at the same time, you never know who you might find in a person if you just give them the opportunity, because they might surprise you. Because the saying was like, you find love in the strangest places, kind of thing. It's a shame that they took a baby for them to like see that, because it doesn't happen that way. And it always doesn't end up in like a happy end. But 28 weeks, no, not 28 weeks, it was like 8 weeks later, she gets morning sickness, and it's like a hilarious moment where like Paul Rudd is walking in on Allison and Debbie, just montage of them just peeing on sticks, and he's like, ugh, because it's so doggone. I know it's something that girls have to do, but it's like, God, this is gross. Because like when I was with my ex a long time ago, like, she knew, because how gross I found it when she goes over about like her period, and or like if she has to take a dump, and it's like, I don't fucking want to hear that. Like, please leave those two things out of the conversation. I don't need to know. Just do your thing. I'll just keep away. And it's like, and that's always, because as much as like I used to mess with her, she knew how to get back at me by talking about like her period and everything like that. And it's like, it drove me fucking bonkers. Like, it's like so icky. It's like, I do not want to know that. It's like I know it's a thing that women have to do once a month, and it's like, it's you know, just normal thing for women. But it's like personally, I just like do not. I'm not saying I'm never repulsed, but it's just like I find it icky. Uh, but she found out that yeah, she's pregnant, and then she had to contact Ben, and he doesn't have a cell phone, so he has like an email address for her to reach him, and like as soon as like she get in contact with him and his friends, I'm sitting there like, God, and this is like a total. I know this might sound messed up, but it's like a total white boy thing, and it's like, and not to sound like, use this term to disparage anybody, but this is how we talked back then. It was fucking gay as fuck. And it's like, you have them like, oh, it's like, oh, she goes back for seconds. And it's like they sitting there, you know, miming fellatio and humping each other and stuff like that. Like, God, that passed for comedy back then. And it's like seemed like a typical white boy shit. And it's like, wow. You get, like you do that with like any other group of minorities. 9 times out of 10, you get, with your boys that's up from like another particular group of racial background. Like my boys, we won't do that with each other. Even back then, we'll never do that. We'll get punched in the fucking gut for like trying to, mime that shit, and you get fucking teased relentlessly for it. Like, you don't fucking do that. It's so stupid. But then he agreed to go meet her, thinking like, oh, she had a change of heart about him, but she had to let him know that she is pregnant. And of course, yeah, he doesn't take the news well, but he, of course, like the first reaction is like his honest reaction is like, and he tells like, like my recollection, you told me not to. You just told me to just do it. Forget it, just do it. And it's like, I didn't tell you I meant just hurry up, but it's like miscommunication. But now they're here. So, which is another little lesson. Make sure y'all verbalize verbalize and express exactly what you mean. Don't leave it to interpretation when you're in the middle of something like that. Because, like, anything could lead to something else that wasn't intended. Just because he might just say put it in doesn't mean butt stuff automatically. It's just like she might not want that. But then they decide to like go to see a doctor and then they see like the embryonic sac and like the little heartbeat inside, and things are getting emotional because like she's looking to get this from she's trying to hide like she's trying her best like to hide to the pregnancy from her bosses because it might she's worried this might wreck her career as far as like a promotion part of it. Because like the way they, verbalize the whole tightness, blah, blah, blah. So these two go to their respective parents. Like, Harold Ramis plays Ben's father. And I'm pretty sure she is like an actress. But Allison goes to her mother. And usually see this from the father. But the mother just immediately goes like, well, you're probably gonna have to get an abortion. You're like, you're on a fast track in like in your career and all the other stuff, and it's like that's like you just gotta get rid of it. It's just like, which kind of shocked Allison. It was like you don't expect, she didn't expect like her mother to say something like this. Given the fact that her sister and like got like 2 children. Uh, but Ben's father is overjoyed, and it's like, every time I see Harold Ramis, it's always like a pleasure to see him in anything. But he tells Ben, it's like, it's like, this is a good joyous occasion. It's like, but uh, Ben talking about how like, this is not how I view my life, and you know, uh, and Ben's dad's telling us like, like sometimes like that is life. Things unexpectedly happens. Like, sometimes the world like doesn't adhere to your plans of your life. And Ben asked him, was like, like honestly, if I, would you feel like your life would have been whole lot better if like you didn't decide to have me? And like, without hesitation, it's like his dad's like, no, it's like I loved, having you, as it was the best part of my life. Uh, and it was like very sweet to hear, because like it like because like even if whether it's up to like whoever like the parents decides, because you know pro-choice fucking matters, people. Uh, whether they decide to have the baby or not is the ladies' fucking choice at the end of the fucking day, people. Uh, unless women in Congress decide to pass a law saying like, like it stops at your nutsack and decide to like, okay, call your fucking balls. See how that fucking feels. That'll stop. That'll stop all this conversation. But uh, it was a cool moment when like Allison side calls up Ben, tells him, I want to keep the baby, and like bravo, because like Ben is like fully supportive and immediately like because you can tell like because Seth Rogen he's an impressive actor, but I don't think we ever gave him his credit as much as we should have back in the day, because we enjoyed his comedies, but the subtle acting involved in the roles he picked is like it is a big deal, because uh because I don't think I ever brought it up in like the Christmas thing uh uh, movie that I was doing in December with Seth Rogen and Anthony Mackie and uh crap, I'm blanking on his name. He's John Blake and like John Blake Robin and Dark Knight Rises. I'm blanking on his doggone name, but you know who I'm talking about. I never mentions like Seth Rogen's like performance in that one. Check out that what is that freaking? I can't look it up right now, but check out that review, that Christmas movie review, because I talk about like like how these three actresses had like such good chemistry, but in this it's like you can tell in his voice, it's like it's like a cool combination of almost relief but worry, where it's like I think that's like would be for almost any guy. It's like I want like she needs my, as he says, it's like I'll be there. I'll like I'll make sure like I do my part, and I won't abandon you, like some dipshit. So, and which is something like it's such an appreciative thing that one would need to hear. It's like but you can tell in his voice yet like some like it sounded like almost if he would had been overjoyed slightly if she decided not to keep the baby, but it just like it could have gone either way in his feelings, but he is just as happy, and it's just like that that kind of like because that's something I kind of picked up on in like his vocals. Uh, so they spend most of the time like looking for like going to find all these like baby stuff and like all these baby books, uh, and then like this montage of finding like the right doctor to help deliver Alice's baby, and it's like you go these different weirdo doctors and either inept or rude or fucking gross, and until they finally landed on like a doctor who's like 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 trust me, I'm your doctor, I don't take vacations, I'm here. And it's like you should have known this fucking bullshit, because like legally he's like every person in like a workforce, legally they're required to take fucking time off per year, because otherwise they fucking lose it. You gotta use it or you lose it kind of situation. And it didn't make any freaking sense to me, because you get burnt out if you don't take some fucking time off. That is a thing. So then it's like you get like a little like B plot with like a slight B plot with Allison's sister and Pete, where it's like she suspects that he's having an affair, given like weird hours that he goes out at night, and the lack of communication, which where it's like bad cell reception, where he's at. And so it was like a cool moment. It was a hilarious moment. It's my favorite part of the film, at least one of my favorite parts of the film, where they go on this kind of Scooby-Doo kind of level of like a mystery solve, and like check his phone and find his car parked out in front of this house. And this is fucking California. Nobody fucking locks their fucking houses, and didn't realize how much is like a true thing in real life when you see on the news about all these break-ins in LA, and it's like, why does nobody lock their fucking houses? You're like I respect the honor system, but it's like it only can go so far, because I'm not leaving my fucking door unlocked for anybody to just waltz on in. It's mind-boggling. That's not something the honor system was meant for. At least it's not initially intended, but it's like, it's weird. Who does that? It's like, it's such a California fucking thing. But they just waltz on in, and instead of finding Pete in bed with another woman, what they find is Pete in the middle of a living room with a bunch of guys setting up like a fantasy baseball league, and stunning like all three of them. Was like, whoa! It's like, what the heck? So Pete and Dev had like this argument on the front lawn. Oh wait, before we get there, it's always funny because it's like the funniest line, and it still gets me to this day. Or one of the guys in the room tells like Pete as he's running after his wife, like, "Hey Pete, don't let the door hit you on the vagina on the way out." and then Ben has to make that comment later on, because that's what y'all thinking, because that was the funniest shit I heard. It got me, and to this day it still gets me. It was so freaking funny. But Pete and Dev have this argument on this front lawn, and she's like understandably upset. But this is something that they probably would benefit for some kind of marriage counselor, because because obviously they're not communicating properly, and like because their parents got young kids and like life is hitting them, and they're sniping at each other, and she is kind of a freaking nag, to be frank. And like there's certain things he says that that's why I mentioned earlier, like these two are not honestly compatible, but just certain things he says really kind of like hit that mark for me, because like one, she telling Allison this bad fucking advice about how like you gotta like break your man down just to control him, and it's like it's so fucking manipulative. It's like, well, no sane woman would do that. I mean, it happens probably naturally, but you don't freaking do that on purpose, because that is just like very manipulative and effed up. Secondly, early in a different scene where she's purposely going online, because anybody can just do this, and it's probably not a good idea to look up certain things, because like you'll go into like a spiral. She looked up on the site to find any like known sex offenders in the area, and it's like and God, kudos to Paul Rudd, because he always funny, and he's just like, right without missing a beat, he just points out like, our computer looks like it got chicken pox. and she just like so abrasive, like, you think it's funny, like these fuckers are living around our fucking neighborhood, like I want you to take this fucking seriously. I was like, holy shit. It's like and it's like, sure, but it's like, I get it. It's like, you want to make sure your kids are safe, especially because you mentioned like, well, if we got to go on Halloween and we got to go trick or treating, and like these and like we got to make sure like we avoid these kind of people, and it's like and of course like it's pretty chill, but it's like he obviously not gonna, because like, why would you purposely, now that why would you expect your husband to purposely bring your kids to these guys' front door on Halloween? And it's like, he's not gonna obviously fucking do that shit, but it's like he's not gonna also make it like a big deal out of it. But it's like, it's a big deal to her. And yes, if something's like if something's like bothering your wife, yeah, or a significant other just in general, yeah, you should treat it with the utmost seriousness, but like also de-escalate the situation and let them know like, hey, I understand there is a problem, not problem per se, but it's like, we'll just avoid these guys, okay? Because I don't expect, because like, it's little what he can do about it other than avoid the houses, because like these little registered people that's in the neighborhood, or at least in like the 20-30 yard radius or whatever of the neighborhood, they're either like already out of prison or they avoided prison, but they have to be registered. Little anybody can do about it, because as long as you don't drag your kid near them, it should be no issue. But it's like, she comes off as a fucking nag. And this, fast forward to this front lawn where like they're having this argument. It's like, she's like, so like, you just been hiding this the whole time, and and he comes clean. It's like, sometimes I just need to get away from everything, because like, as much as I love you and the kids, it's like, I need to blow off steam, or come here, or go to the movies. And it's like, sometimes I want to go by myself, and I want to go see Spider-Man 3. It's like, I want to see Spider-Man 3. So you want to come see Spider-Man 3 with me? I don't want to go because you hear that kind of thing from some women. It's like, I don't want to do it now because you're, like I want you to do it because you want to initially, without prompting, kind of situation. But it's like, I mentioned, like, this kind of, it's played seriously, but it's also kind of funny at the same doggone time. As like, Ben and Allison just standing by the car, just on looking, because it's like how freaking awkward it is. But it's like, because Deb's just like, understandably upset. I'm not saying like her feelings are not valid, because he should not have kept this from her, and that's why she should have been like benefit from some proper communications. Say, hey, like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Like, because I feel like I'm being nagged. I feel like kind of bogged down. I just want. Do you want to go somewhere, have a break, just two of us, have like Allison and Ben watch the kids, so we can have a night out with ourselves, that kind of thing. So that way we can have some, relieve the pressure a bit before things blow. Uh, and then Allison and Ben kind of have like a blow up because Allison's kind of like transferring her sister's situation onto her and Ben's relationship, which is like something that you should not do. Whereas Ben couldn't understand the situation, and I still to this day agree with like Ben is even after all this time rewatching this, it's like I still agree with his assessments. Like even though I understand the nuances of the woman's side of things, by and large, Ben and Pete have some level of point where it's like you might not see this now, but later in the future you'll have a good laugh at this because it's like where you'll Scooby doing this shit and expecting him to be in bed with another woman. It's just a bunch of 40-something-year-old guys, set up some baseball fantasy league thing. So it's like it's kind of funny. It's funny. But Allison, is taking it like he's not taking it seriously because Pete's being selfish, and it's like Ben don't think so, and they have a blow up. She leaves in the middle of the road, and he has to wasn't necessarily hoof it, but find out a ride to the doctor's appointment which it was headed to. They have like a big blow up there, and it's like, despite the moment where he's like I understand you're pregnant, your hormones are all over the place, so I want to say you're a fucking bitch, hormones, like not Allison, hormones. And it's like still a volatile situation. She doesn't want to hear that shit right now because despite you trying to rationalize that you're not putting it on her, even though you understand it's not her saying it, half of it is her feelings in overdrive, but it's still her feelings, and that still need to be respected. And even though you have the right to be upset, you gotta shelf that a bit, or at least de-escalate the situation, because or at least walk away, and so both of y'all can cool off, because now both are walking away in a huff. And in the meantime, it's Ben's kind of reevaluating his life a bit, considering that he still needs to be in his kid's life, and because Ben and Pete go off from Vegas, have this little Vegas trip, hopped on shrooms, going to Circus Soleil, and they having this little inner retrospective. It's as Pete asked them, why didn't you read the baby books? Because I didn't read the baby books because then it's real, and it's because he's still having a hard time coming to terms with being a father, and having a sense of growing up, and it's this whole thing where it's you feel like he's still young, you want to do all those other such of things without this level of responsibility. I think that's probably the most the biggest enemy to slackers is responsibility. But as Pete says, well, it's real whether or not you read those books. That baby's coming. And then Pete's biggest problem was he doesn't feel like he deserves Allison's love, and it's she just wants me around, and for some reason I'm having a problem with that. She loves me so much, she wants me around all the time, and it's and like I said, these two could have benefited from a freaking counsel. All of them could. But then Allison and like Deb go off to the club trying to like have a good time. You know, it's freaking weird why they can't just go in a club, but I guess it was a thing back then where like Craig Robinson as a bouncer, and it's like we didn't call it then. You just call it like white girl, shit. Or at least it's like because white girl problems is going fucking ballistic. But Deb's having like a freaking Karen moment at this point in time. Shit hasn't changed in years, like apparently, but she calling like I call him fat and shit like that, and it's like uh just having this big blow up, embarrassing Allison and all these little 20-something-year-old girls in the line sitting snickering at her, but then Craig Robinson pulls her to the side and it's like I'm like, you're right. I don't want to pass judgment on people. It makes me sick to my stomach. I'm not letting. It's not that I'm not letting you in because you're not hot. I'll tap that ass. I'm not letting you in here because like you're old as shit and she's pregnant. Can't have no old pregnant bitches up in the club. How does that look? You should be in like yoga class or something. And it's like they have this kind of retrospective. It's like despite them still being young, but they're not as young as they used to be. It's like going to all these little clubs every night. They, I'm not saying they got different priorities because, like, people can anybody above the age of 21 can go out to fucking clubs and parties. It's not like it's like a age restriction, but it's just, it's just weird if you do it almost all the time, or at least it's a certain like limit. In a way, it's weird. It's hard to say because it is on a level of weirdness if like you're in your 40s and you constantly going out to these clubs every weekend, and it's like you don't kind of got that thing no more. But they come to realize she like, or at least Deb comes to realization that she missed her husband. So they reconcile. But like Allison's not mad at Ben no more, but she feels like they don't seem like compatible because she looks at her sister's relationship and she is worried that she might end up doing to Ben what her sister's doing to Pete, where it seems like they're fine now, but maybe today, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually they'll go back and like they trying to force it to work because as she puts it, this is the way I'm putting it, these two honestly don't seem compatible. They just forcing it to work because they have children. And you shouldn't force a relationship to work just because you have children. If you're not compatible, you might not be good together and you might just have to separate, as shitty as that might be sounding. But that is you don't need to be a psychologist to probably see something like that in a particular couple. Excuse me. But this distraughts Ben because he actually has feelings for Allison. And he has a talk with his father, which, gets him to understand that he has to, like, you have responsibilities now. You can't do what you used to do, at least not so much, because you got a kid now, and that kid takes priority. So you got to, get your own place, which he does, and he gets his job at this web design thing, so he can have like a steady income. And I almost forgot to mention it because as soon as I saw it in Ben's room, when he has like roommates and stuff early in the film, because when she tells Ben that she's planning on keeping the baby, there's a poster of one of Johnny Depp's films that I keep forgetting is a Johnny Depp film because it's like that poster, a movie poster where like this like very warped looking head. I forgot what that thing is called because I never seen it, but I seen that movie poster in for a long time. What is that filmography? Because it's gonna bug the crap out of me. Uh, uh, there's like quite a bit of Johnny Depp movies I really want to do reviews of. One in particular, but I'm gonna leave that as a surprise. Where is it? It's one of those like it gotta be a '90s movie. There it is. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Didn't even realize he was in that freaking movie. I never seen a movie in general. I just seen that movie poster for like plenty of times and never once watched it. Uh, but yeah, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's like wow, looking at that poster, and I'm immediately thinking about Johnny Depp right now, doing currently right now with his like court, uh, 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 legal thing going on with Amber Heard, and which is so freaking ironic. Now I'm thinking about it, it's like, you know, those two had like a volatile relationship, like that, that should not have been a thing, uh, because it was that level of toxicity, and you got like not on the same degree, but Deb and Pete, and it's like these two honestly probably should not be together. Deb doesn't take a shit in like Pete's side of the bed. She's not on that level of fucking whacked out, but that's like sometimes you don't need to know like the underbelly of the situation if you see something that level of fucked up. Uh, uh, but anyway, I thought it's something to note. But uh, 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 Deb and Pete go out with the kids to the Legoland thing. So Allison's home alone, which is like, I'm believing like by this point, uh, uh, Deb. I mean, like Allison, still got some time before the baby's supposed to arrive, which is like still a critical time just to be leaving like a pregnant woman home alone now. But also, as far as like her career is concerned, they finagle ways to like, oh, this is good. You will have you interview all these pregnant celebrities and stuff like that. It works well for us. So it's like that worked out for Allison pretty fine. So just in case you're worried about that. But Allison is getting contractions. She's freaking out. She's not getting a hold of her doctor, and uh, uh, you know, uh, Deb is like out of town. They won't be, they won't make it. I mean, I'm pretty sure she called them, but they're not gonna make it back in time. And so she has to call Ben. It's the only person she can like get to come over. He gets over, and they reconcile in the midst of trying to keep everything calm. She's in the tub, listen to like very like tranquil music to like make sure that she's doing Lamaze breathing. And so like Ben gets on the phone in a separate room trying to like get a hold, and this is like a funny one. It's one of my other favorite moments in the film where Ben's got the number and leaves a message to the doctor. Hey dog, this is Ben Stone. Hey, guess what? Allison's in labor. Where the fuck are you? Because you promise you won't take no, like hope that kid, like hope the chair falls and hit you on the head, you piece of shit. Fuck you. Hope you die in a pig grass. And it's like it's all like volatile. It's like he understandably is upset probably shouldn't leave like that of a threat of a message to a doctor who can easily like call the cops. Someone's gonna listen to it, but it's like, you're understandably upset, and this fucker, left, especially not notifying anybody, or at least, because what doctor would do that? It's like, I'm pretty sure there's medical physicians who, if they had like something to go to at a particular juncture, they would have like, first and foremost, they won't be making promises they know they probably won't be able to keep. Because like, he promised them he doesn't take vacations, but you probably have to know in advance that there's like a bar mitzvah coming up that you have to get to around the time where she should be expecting. Then you shouldn't have been like making those stupid ass fucking promises in the first place. Secondly, you at least, should be making calls to everybody, saying like, I'm gonna be out at this time. Well, you don't have to, but at least have, something in place to where it's like, having your assistant calling people in advance, letting them know like what's coming up with this particular doctor people are counting on for a certain thing, and that way they can all call up and say like, what's going on? Like, well, I'm going to be doing this, and that, and the other on this particular weekend or week. So we can reschedule, or I can arrange for this other particular doctor I completely trust to handle your care in the meantime while I'm gone, in case, things go awry and I'm not here. That kind of thing. That should be a standard thing. I'm pretty sure it is a standard thing realistically, because that's fucking stupid and janky as fuck. So Ben's understandably pissed off. So they go to the previous doctor. They interviewed Dr. Cooney, played by Ken Jeong, who is just acting like a complete dick. Like, his bedside manners is like so doggone janky, and it's like, Ben has to pull him aside. It's like, hey, dude, like, are you okay to do this? Because we can find get some other doctor to come do this. Because like, I can't have you. She's in labor. She's always stressed the fuck out. And like, you right now, your bedside manner are like so janky as fuck. Like, like, I don't need you to like, get your mind right here. So it's like, because that was like, kudos to Ben, because like, he's stepping up as a father at this point. He's not that same slacker that we met early in the film. And just like, he like telling, and the doctor goes in there and apologizes, and like, and does his fucking job. But then like, Debs finally make it with Pete and everything like that. And Ben's telling her to wait in the waiting room because he's got this. And like, she's been like kind of like, against Ben for most of the film, because like, she doesn't approve, like, she doesn't see him like any kind of potential suitor for her sister, until he like stepped up and like told her what's what, because people just let her just say all kinds of BS. But she just respected it and like, let him handle the situation, because she'd been looking after her sister for a long time. She's gets so used to that, she's hard pressed to feel like anybody else can step up. But they welcome to the world this baby girl, and Ben's buddies are there, with them celebrating. And by the way, I don't know what's going on with like their little website startup company, because that kind of fell flat, because according to Pete, who brought it up to Ben earlier in the film, it's like, there's already a website that do exactly what they thought they're thinking about doing. And it's like, they wasted so many months doing that stuff, and it's like, either how did y'all not know about this already? Because you would figure, they would probably had like, look this up to see if anybody got the same idea, or they probably at some point got so high and like seen this on TV and assumed it was in their head, so they kind of like ran with it, kind of thing. But so it's not really that important. But it's like now I'm kind of wondering like, okay, what are they going to do with their lives? It's like now that whole little they got to come up with a new idea, or it's mentioning going to try to come up with something else after that little failed project. But it's like you kind of put many months into this. Now you're gonna have to put another several months into a new business venture, but it's not really that important. But the movie ends with like Ben and Allison playing with their uh, baby girl in the playground. So it's like, yeah, new parents. And it's like it's a beautiful thing. Even though it's like earlier in the film they waiting in the doctor's room to check, the life inside the womb and everything like that. You see all these parents with babies that a couple of them look kind of weird, or I want to say, well, that's mean. I don't want to say they look weird. I think one of the babies possibly might have Down syndrome. The way the face looks is that's just the thing that kind of registered in my mind is like they baby must have like Down syndrome or something. But you got all these crying babies all over the place, and I'm understandably you can see the look on Ben's face, and he's totally freaked out right now. And I'm thinking like I'm pretty sure he's like late 20s, probably about to get into his 30s in maybe like a year or two. And it's like he's like freaking out right now. It's like, oh my god, like I'm a young dad now, and it's like this is trippy as hell. And it's like he's tripping balls in Vegas, and he's like seeing like weird stuff with like man babies and stuff like that, and it's like that is a whole nother thing. But he's come to understand like his father's right. Like it's a wonderful thing if you accept that it is. It's like yes, it's scary, but at the same time it's beautiful, especially when you see that baby being brought into the world, and that your brain registers completely different as soon as you see your own sire, like your fruit of your loins, taking his or her first breath into the world. But yeah, that is Knocked Up. Like one of the great Judd Apatow has made some fantastic films over the years. And it's like the most iconic filmography. It's been like known throughout like the entire world. Oh, he's married to Leslie Mann of all people. Like wow, that is this uh, and I think he took his wife's share his wife's name too. It's Judd Man Apatow. Very progressive. So yeah, like Heavyweights was his first film. No, he didn't direct. He wrote it. His first film was 40-Year-Old Virgins. He also helped write Celtic Pride. He wrote it, but it stars like Dan Aykroyd, Damon Wayans, and Daniel Stern. It's like a great film. I really want to rewatch that too. It's like a handful of sports films I want to like do like spoiler reviews for. And I need to make up a list because now I'm thinking about it. I need to make a list because like there's bits and pieces of like sports films like I really want to cover for the channel. But like yeah, Fun with Dick and Jane, that was a good one. A great Jim Carrey film. Walk Hard, a Dewey Cox story. I've never seen that. But Don't Mess with His Own. He worked on those two. He wrote for those two, but he directed Knocked Up, directed 40-Year-Old Virgin. He produced Pineapple Express, which was, I thought it was like prior to Pineapple Express, but it's funny how like he helped produce a movie called Pineapple Express a year later, while the name was referenced in Knocked Up a year prior. That's so freaking funny. So he directed Funny People. This is 40, obviously. Trainwreck. King of Staten Island. I never seen it. I'm not a fan of Pete Davidson, to be personal. To be frank with you guys, And there's a movie called the Bubble that he did too this year, or at least it's about to come out maybe this year. Yeah, yeah, it already came out on April 1st. So yeah. But that was knocked up. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl. And I will see you guys soon for another review. And then later on, I'll be back playing some more Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I'm getting a heck of a lot of views. So many people love this freaking game, and I'm so glad you guys love this game as much as I do. It's such an iconic game. But yeah, I will see you guys later.